What do you smell?
Crime. Hello out there in internet land. You are about to watch Sam and I play a case from Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective by Atari Games. It's kind of a choose-your-own-adventure game with added elements of logic puzzle, deduction, all the kind of things you'd expect from a Sherlock Holmes game. Within this box, you get 10 different cases, all of which are fairly luxuriously laid out in these case books here, which are lovely. And you have to figure out who done it, whatever that may be, via use of various tools. The one of which is the immediately nicest one, which I'm showing you first to make you just drool, is this lovely replica newspaper of the Times, which is full of articles that may or may not be related to the thing you're looking for. You also get this map of London. You get this London directory, which lets you walk around London and talk to various people and that kind of thing. And basically what you have to do is find the person or place you're looking for here, look them up here, and then use the coordinates that gives you to look in the casebook and see what happens. You can basically spend as long as you like doing that, although the longer you take, the more people you talk to, the lower your score will be at the end. That's not even accounting the fact that you may just get it entirely wrong. Holmes always basically goes along the more or less the fastest route, and you get to compare yourself to him at the end of the case so that you feel terrible about the couple of hours you've just spent just picking up false leads and generally being an idiot. But that's about it. It's basically be Sherlock Holmes or be a far less effective version of Sherlock Holmes, and it's great fun. And there's no real way I can sell it to you more than just by making you watch me and Sam flounder in abject stupidity while we attempt to work out who killed the munitions magnate.
Despite the lateness of the winter, March is still roaring like a lion. In fact, just as we alight from our cab in front of 221B Baker, a derby hat skitters by propelled by the fierce wind. In close pursuit is none other than Wiggins, chief of the Baker Street Irregulars, and after Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes' most able assistant. Before we can join in the chase, Wiggins manages to halt the flying bit of finery with a deft stroke of his umbrella. Cramming it squarely on his head, he saunters back towards us. "Hello," he says cheerily. "It would appear that Mr. Holmes is summoning the troops. Shall we?" With the point of his umbrella, a very versatile tool it appears, Wiggins stabs the doorbell. It is several moments before Mrs. Hudson answers. After a brief exchange of greetings, she sends us on our way to Holmes' apartment. Above, we find Holmes and Dr. Watson sitting at a table engaged in earnest conversation with a gentleman in his late 40s, expensively dressed, yet somewhat rumpled in appearance. "Warm yourselves," says Holmes, "and I will explain my reasons for calling you out on such a bitter morning." Coats and hats are immediately shed, there is a distinct pop as Wiggins removes his derby, and a rush is made for the fireplace. In due course introductions are made, and the gentleman is identified as Mr. Richard Allen, brother of the late Courtney Allen, president of the Grant Arms Company. "It is the recent death of Mr. Allen's late brother," says Holmes, "that occasions his visit to us. Briefly, Courtney Allen was found shot to death in an alley behind his office on the evening of March 9th, at approximately 7 o'clock p.m., by the constable on patrol. Scotland Yard has put the crime down as a simple robbery, by person or persons unknown, largely due to the fact that the victim's wallet was found empty near his body, and the gold pocket watch was missing. Mr. Allen was just telling us a bit about his brother when you arrived. Please continue, Mr. Allen." "Well, Courtney was a dynamic individual, always busy, forever on the move, yet he had the unique ability to make 10 minutes spent with you seem like an hour, so complete was his attention to you. Of course, his charm worked like a magic potion on the ladies." "You said he was married?" asked Watson with a raised eyebrow. "Oh, yes. Poor Beatrice." "Was he involved in In an affair at the time of his death? Asks Wiggins. Yes, I believe he was, but I have no clue as to who the lady might have been. You see, the night before he was killed, I popped round to his office at about 5:30 and managed to coax him to supper at Keen's. We were there but a short while when Courtney begged leave. He indicated that he had an important meeting, said "Auf Wiedersehen," and winked. That wink meant a woman. Is the company financially sound? Asks Watson. Oh, quite. A fine investment for anyone's portfolio. You see, the company was founded as a small gun shop some 70-odd years ago by our great-uncle Thaddeus Grant. It catered to a very elite clientele. Most of the chaps in the regiment were equipped with pistols from Grant's, nods Watson. Why, Braxton. You've heard me speak of Braxton, Holmes. He had a pair of the finest duelling pistols. Yes, Watson. Pray continue, Mr. Allen. Courtney, always fascinated by firearms, apprenticed himself to Uncle Thaddeus. When Thaddeus died in 1873, he bequeathed the business to Courtney. While maintaining the original shop and its tradition, Courtney expanded into the international arms trade. With loans and the sale of public stock, he was able to build a plant at 12 Deverell Street for the manufacture of heavy ordnance. Today the firm is debt-free and very profitable. Of course, a drop in the share price occurred with the news of my brother's death. Who has ascended to the presidency? Asks Watson. Courtney's picked successor, Philip Marlowe, the second vice president. And why not the senior vice president? Young Lord Ragland, who runs the Deverell Street plant, is a brilliant technician, but a most inept businessman. Who inherits your brother's stock? His wife, Beatrice. Now I think we might examine the effects found with your brother. So saying, Holmes turns his attention to a briefcase and a large brown envelope. It looks as if some sharp object has been used on it, comments Watson, referring to a long gouge on the leather of the briefcase. Yes, and it's practically brand new. I gave it to Courtney for his last birthday, January 6th. As you can see, it is locked. The police found it that way. Courtney kept the key on a chain attached to his watch fob. The watch, of course, was stolen. Holmes retrieves a long piece of wire from the coal scuffle. After gaining Allen's permission, he inserts it into the lock and with a quick flick of the wrist, springs the lock open. He pulls out 2 folders for our examination. Each is filled with company papers and is coded to indicate its contents. One marked MBC, for instance, concerns various coal mine leases. Another, marked S87V, contains a listing of sales to the US government during the preceding year. Holmes then empties the contents of the envelope onto the table. The inventory includes spectacles and case, a ruby ring, a gold wedding band, a keychain with keys, an empty wallet, a small notebook, and a note. Seizing on the notebook, Holmes observes, "Can you tell us who Captain Egan might be, Mr. Allen?" "I've never heard the name." "And Billy?" "Billy's Courtney's secretary, William Limbart." Holmes compares the writing in the notebook with that of the note. They appear to be identical. He nods and says, "I believe we have enough to begin our investigation." After Allen has gone, Wiggins comments that his hand gestures were most intriguing. Combining infinite subtlety with tremendous force, it is easy to imagine that he has no trouble making his wishes known on the floor of the London Stock Exchange. "I don't recall Allen giving out his occupation," says Watson, puzzled. "No," replies Wiggins, "but certain phrases he spoke, coupled with the penciled notations on his left shirt cuff, stock prices surely, led me to conclude that he was a stockbroker." "Bravo, Wiggins! Well, Watson, our young man has come a long way since the days when you described him as a dirty little street urchin, eh?" "Thank you, Mr. Holmes, but after all, I was taught by the master." "True," says Holmes matter-of-factly. "Quite true."
So, Sam, the munitions magnate has been horribly murdered, and if we don't solve the crime,
Who will?
Who would? Who could possibly solve the crime if we don't? There's no one. There's no one.
Yeah.
So, before we start the case here, I've had a bit of a read through of the newspaper, and there's a couple of interesting things. One of them is that there's some things that I think maybe a little bit red herrings here. One of them is that there's a Wimbledon meeting for shooting.
Okay.
You see, and there's a lot of people scored on that, including Sebastian Moran, interestingly enough, if people know their Sherlock Holmes. I think that's in there as a red herring, because it doesn't say that it was like a crazy shot that no one could make or anything. He was just shot, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
Okay.
There was a couple of other things about artillery volunteers wearing some uniforms. I'm thinking of military arms stuff. And there was something about a fatal explosion of a shell in St. Petersburg. There's some interesting things in here, but this, I think,
Okay.
may be our first lead.
I'm excited to hear our killer evidence.
Yes. Arms Trade Fair closes. The International Arms Trade Fair, which opened at the Royal Agricultural Hall March 4th, closed yesterday with a 21-gun salute to the Queen, which reverberated around the city. The closing ceremonies began earlier in the awarding of gold medals for excellence. Accepting 5 medals on behalf of the Krupp Works was the Countess von Schulenburg, bride of 5 months to the German military attaché,
Okay.
and the archetype of the fair-haired Rhine maiden. A gold medal was also awarded to the Société Bacri Frère and accepted by Émile Zobar, French militarist attaché. Émile Zobar finished second from last in the Wimbledon meeting.
Interesting.
And he was going off to a potential affair, right? And he said, Auf Wiedersehen.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That is German.
That is
German.
It's definitely German. It goes on to say, Hector del Guerra, military attaché to the Spanish embassy, stirred the large crowd with a magnificent speech. The affair was marred by several demonstrators sporting anti-arms placards. Alexei Meshkov, AM,
Okay.
Russian military attaché, was struck in the head by a tomato. So, what we have is a German woman who may be the target of our Munitions Magnate's affections. We have a French military attaché who is quite a good shot. We have Hector del Guerra, military attaché to the Spanish embassy, Spaniard on the note.
Spaniard, who was meaning a Spaniard.
And we have Alexei Meshkov, Russian military attaché,
AM. That does sound like the key piece of news in that newspaper.
I think so.
Far.
I think so. So, how the game works is basically when you have people playing cooperatively, they take it in turns to be like the decision maker on where you go next. I am going to say that we need to go find Countess von Schulenburg.
Okay. Countess von Schulenburg.
So with that in mind, let's have a look in the old directory for von Countess von Schulenburg, who alarmingly is not in here.
Ooh. But what about
does it say anything about German embassy, perhaps, or because he's her husband's the German embassy. Yep.
Okay.
So shall we visit the German embassy?
That does sound like a good idea.
I think we should. 9 southwest. So that'll be down in there somewhere, won't it? But not that it's a nice thing to have the map, but it doesn't particularly matter as far as I know, because everything is.
Well, I suppose it might be relevant for like who can be where.
Yeah, movements and stuff like that. But our movements never.
Yeah.
Okay, this is quite a short entry here, so I don't know if this will give us anything. We'll have to note down that we've made one visit.
Please.
At the German embassy, we are told that Count von Schulenburg is out, but that his aide, Colonel Frederick von Kraushofer, will see us. The colonel is an impressive figure. Tall and slim, he gives us an imperious, one-eyed stare from behind a monocle. He is at a loss over our only question, not from any lack of knowledge on his part, but at our temerity in asking it. After a long pause, he finally relents. He retreats to the desk and flips through the pages of the record book. The Count left the embassy at 4:55 p.m. on March the 9th. Beating the colonel to the punch, as it were, we summarily dismiss ourselves. So if the Count left the embassy at 4:55, March the 9th was the date of the murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
he meets his brother and goes to a place called Keen's.
But isn't that the night before? That's the night before.
Is that the night before?
Yeah, at
Okay.
8:30, I think, at Keen's.
Okay. Which, I mean, at least...
There's a place here called... There's a thing the night before, Bishop's F, 8:30 p.m. What was that? Is Bishop's F where Keynes is?
Well, he goes
Maybe
there.
we should look up Keynes and check
Yeah.
if that is where he went, like, if he had another appointment the night before.
Well, he goes to Keynes at 5:30, so it's possible he like goes from Keynes to this other place at 8:30.
Keynes Chop House? Is it K-E-E-N?
Yes.
Keynes, yeah, okay. Keynes Chop House is 37 West Central.
Okay. West Central.
So that's the top section, isn't it? So if you find 37 West Central, is that on a place called Bishop's F?
Keynes. Is it 37? Do you say?
Yeah. Or it may be referring to the Bishop's Finger Inn.
Oh god. There's so many places.
Yeah. So if the Count left the embassy at 4:55,
Well, assuming he met, like he has time to get to. What's his name? The guy who died.
Captain Egan.
He has
Oh,
time.
no, yeah.
He has time to get to Courtney Grant's office. Assuming Courtney Grant leaves his office around 5 after 5, because at least he did the day before, and he would have time to get to his office. I think. It's probably. We should probably be basing this on the idea of the moment that he's shot leaving his office or at his office,
Yeah,
not that he goes back there later or something like that.
Yeah. Where does it say that he leaves at 5?
Well, just that he met his brother at 5:30 the previous
Right,
day.
okay. And he's found dead at 7.
Yeah.
So if the Count left the embassy at 4:55,
It certainly puts him...
It's certainly possible.
We can't
He's a
rule him out.
suspect.
He is certainly a suspect.
Okay.
And this is Countess von... No,
This is Count von... is it Schulenberg? Count von Schulenberg.
Schulenberg.
So it's certainly possible that Courtney had an affair with his wife. He found out.
It's certainly
Maybe.
possible.
But we need to... Okay, so there's a couple of things here, I think, to look at. So, he went to the Bishop's Finger Inn the night before. It would be good to know why he went there.
Yes.
And he went there after having a meal with his brother. Presumably to see the Countess. So...
Certainly to see someone who seems important to the case.
Yeah. But then, so the next day, so on the day he's murdered, he goes to the plant at 8 a.m. and it has surprise written down on it. What kind of surprise? And then Captain Egan at 8:30, which of course he never made because he's dead at that point. Now, so we have this note that says, so would we read that as SP10?
Yeah, I think so.
Spaniard, tonight 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Tonight when though? And
then AM.
then AM, which may be the Russian.
Yeah, it could be the Russian. It could be... But why does he have a note signed or initialed by the Russian?
Why is the Russian
Yeah.
potentially giving him a note about presumably why is the Russian attaché potentially giving him a note about the Spanish attaché while he's boinking the German attaché's wife?
Oh, God.
And he goes to the US Embassy the next day as well. This is a guy who's got his fingers in a lot of
important
foreign
pies.
policy
Yeah.
and cultural pies. Okay. Cultural pies. Note that down. Cultural pies.
Got it.
So, next move is up to you.
The pie shop.
I would I would maybe suggest, I think the Bishop's Finger Inn could be a good spot.
Could be.
I think going to see Captain Egan could be a good spot.
Do we know
Well,
who
we
he
can
is?
look him up in the directory.
Is he in there?
We can let's take a look. There is John Egan. There's only one Egan in this directory. It's probably him. So we could do that. We could go perhaps see the Spanish or the Russian attachés. Or any number of... It's all, we've got the standard allies we could go see on the thing.
I mean, we could also go and see people... We could perhaps go and try and meet his secretary or someone who's inherited the company from him. I think at the moment we should continue following this lead, though.
Until we're
until we're
have
satisfied.
some notion.
So I think possibly... I think to stay on this track of the Countess and like how she is involved, possibly we should maybe go to the bishop's.
The bishop's finger in.
Bishop's finger in.
Bishop's finger in. Let's head to the bishop's finger in then. That's 18 East Central. Okay. Have we actually checked where
the German embassy's here?
Where's the actual plant? Where's his office?
It does say. I think it says on the next page. I didn't write that down.
It's a Grant Arms Company. So look, we should check where that is first, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
It's 5 East Central.
Okay, so that's actually quite close to.
Yeah.
It's there. The bishop's finger is there. So they're very close to each other, basically. The German embassy is on the other side of town-ish.
But maybe that took him a couple of hours to get over there, and apologies for the sound of screaming children. Yeah. Okay. So, Bishop, we're stuck on the bishop's finger in?
I think bishop's finger is
18 East Central. Let's go have a look at the bishop's finger in. Ooh, it's quite a long one. Quite a long one.
Okay.
Here we go, okay. Yeah. The proprietor of Bishop's Finger Inn is a nervous little man who wrings his delicate hands as we make our inquiries. He is very reluctant to give us information concerning Mr. Allen. My patrons have full confidence in my discretion, and I will not betray that trust. Even to the point of impeding an official police investigation, asked Wiggins. His tone striking the right note between righteous indignation and official threat. The little man capitulates. Oh, well, I always like to cooperate with the authorities. Good fellow. Believe me, I'll put in a word for you. Now, on the evening of March 8th, Mr. Allen met someone here, yes? Once the wall has been breached, the city is taken. The little man gushes forth the information that Mr. Allen availed himself of the private dining room on 10 occasions between January 15th and March the 8th. Wow, this is getting full of information here, Sam. Each time, a tall woman wearing a cloak and veil arrived first. I can't really tell you anything about her, but she seemed a lady of elegance and position. She spoke to me but once on her first visit. I did detect a faint accent. Mid-European, I would say. Okay. Louis! He calls over the waiter who served Allen and guest. From him we learn that the lady was very striking with long blonde hair. In the paper she's described as being blonde. He also reminds the proprietor of the earring that the lady left behind. It is a teardrop emerald circled by diamonds. The jeweller's mark, R and F, is inscribed on the metal clasp. Wiggins thanks them. As we are leaving, Louis remembers something that he thinks we ought to know. There was this tall man with a thick moustache. He never smiled. He was absolutely stone-faced. The only time he appeared was on the evenings of Mr. Allen's rendezvous. He would arrive and leave just after the lady. Perhaps Bradford would know more. The barman recalls the stone-faced man very well. He would sit here, hour after hour, ramrod straight, saying nothing. Downright unfriendly. Always ordered just one drink and never finished that. Never tipped. He was no gentleman. Okay.
Well, that was quite useful information. That was good information.
It was. And, if I recall correctly, I remember...
Okay. Cracked it.
Here we go.
Places.
Here we go. Personals, £10 reward. Lost on March the 8th. An earring consisting of a teardrop emerald circled by diamonds. Whoever will take same to 51 Cadogan Street, southwest, shall receive the reward.
51 Cadogan Street.
So, teardrop emerald circled by diamonds. Yes, that's definitely it.
That's
and it's
definitely
also, it's R and F
Yeah.
is inscribed on it. So first off, let's just look at what R and F is. Let's see if we can find a jeweler's that looks like it starts with that. So that's 2 visits we've had, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel we're getting somewhere already, but then that's probably how you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And then inevitably something will...
This could have nothing to do with it.
This is just completely irrelevant somehow.
R and F. It could be R and T, I suppose. It could be R and T, and there's a Reeves and Tucker.
Looking for Cadogan Street. How do you spell Cadogan Street?
CADOGAN. But it should be number. It should be. Is it maybe 51?
51.
No,
Yeah,
that's 51, but that doesn't look like. Is that Cadogan Street? No.
No.
Okay. So we need to find. Yeah. Oh, it's southwest.
Southwest, okay.
Yeah. So if you find Cadogan Street, that might be number 51, maybe? I don't know. Or maybe we have to find Cadogan Street and then find a number on that street. I don't know.
Cadogan Street.
Does it have a 51?
Well, I think there's only... Actually, it probably will. I'll make sure. Yes. Oh, yeah, I have found it.
And it is on Cadogan Street?
Yeah, it is
and
on
it's a
Cadogan
51?
Street, yeah.
Okay. Well...
It would be interesting to find who is asking for this to be returned.
Yes. Perhaps that is where the Countess is.
Yes.
Or perhaps not. Maybe it's where the stone-faced man is. I think this is our next port
yeah,
goal.
the stone-faced man is certainly who...
Okay, I'm gonna say we go there.
Okay.
I'm gonna say we go to Cadogan Street. That's 51 southwest, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. I'm excited. Sam. 51. Oh my god, this is huge. oh god. Okay. We're so smart. But I'm seeing like little images on other pages that have like full notes and stuff,
God.
and I'm like, where is that?
Where's our note? We want a note.
Okay. Okay. We are greeted at the door of Count von Schulenberg's residence.
Ooh.
By a man whose glare is unfriendly and forbidding.
Okay.
His walrus moustache and stiff bearing remind us more of a sergeant in the Prussian Guard than a butler. This is interesting already. So, the butler accompanied her.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an affair. I think it's some kind of deal with the German government.
I mean, it could also be that the butler, like, she doesn't know the butler is following her. And the butler is the way that the guy found out, or someone found out about it.
Potentially.
Or it could be what you're saying.
But did I'm not entirely sure whether
It said he arrives and leaves after her. Which means
arrive and leave just after the lady. But if he leaves after her, then she knows. I think he's there as security.
Possibly. Certainly possible.
Okay. Before the man can shut the door in our faces, as he shows every sign of doing, Wiggins spews forth a stream of guttural sounds in a language that must bear some resemblance to German. For the butler steps back, clicks his heels, and admits us. Wiggins, for his part, cannot resist a mischievous wink in our direction. Count von Schulenberg sits waiting for us behind his desk in the study. Physically, he is a bit of a surprise to us. Short and rotund, he looks slightly absurd in his tight-fitting uniform, more like an overdressed tram conductor than a military man. We suspect, on the evidence of a half-filled glass of a clear liquid on his desk, that his florid complexion is due as much to his penchant for tippling as to the tightness of his collar. If his stature and shape, his rosy cheeks, grey hair and whiskers, his bushy side whiskers loop down to his chin and back up to connect with his moustache, put us in mind of old St. Nick, his manner conjures up a very different image. He is very cold, devoid of any emotion, save possibly anger. He notices Wiggins' attention to a magnificent gun collection, which finds one wall and asks him in a flat tone of voice, suggesting disinterest in an answer if he has a liking for guns. Wiggins barely begins a reply before the Count cuts him off. Now, gentlemen, what is your business? We explain our mission and ask if we may put some questions to him. We take his stony silence as consent to do so. Were you aware that the Grant Arms Company was developing a new weapon for the British government? I knew of such a weapon, of course, but no details concerning it. But since no company can compete with our own Krupp Works, where have we... Was that in the... 5 medals on behalf of the Krupp Works.
Okay.
For the at the Arms Trade Fair. Since no company can compete with our own Krupp Works, I was not very interested. Do you remember where you were on the evening of March the 9th? He raises an eyebrow with the implication of the question. While he is deciding whether to answer or not, he lights a cigarette. We can't help but notice the B and H on the cigarette. Finally he speaks. I recall quite well. I went to the home of Hector del Guerra, military attaché to the Spanish government. Just then there is a knock on the study door. Oh, Alfred, says a very beautiful young lady as she sweeps into the room and stops short. I'm sorry, Alfred, I was unaware you had company. With a great deal more animation than we have seen heretofore, the Count rises, goes to her, and with elaborate ceremony introduces the young blonde woman as his wife. Together they make a most incongruous pair. 30 years and 3 inches. The height advantage going to the lady separate them. The introduction at an end, the Count, there is no other word for it, dismisses her. Turning back to us, he says, if that is all, gentlemen, it is not a question.
Okay.
So going into the room, she called him Herr, not Alfred. She's not his wife. She's a spy. I think she's a spy. I think there's some crazy business going on between the Russians, the Spaniards, the Germans,
I mean, the Spaniard.
and the dead man.
The Spaniard does. The Spaniard meets. When is our guy meeting the Spaniard? Is it the night he dies? Or is it
All it
just says Spaniard.
is SP10, Spaniard, tonight, 10 p.m.
A.M.
What does SP10 mean?
SP10. I don't know. It could be.
I don't think it's a location, is it? I'm going to look at SP stuff.
There's also a note about.
Oh God, there's so much S.
Was it B and H on his cigarette or something?
Yeah.
Which seemed
but that could
strange.
just be.
Yeah. Strange detail to include.
Benson and Hedges? I don't know. SP10 though.
SP10. It could be a place. Because I can't think what else that kind of the code would stand for.
SP10. We've got the only things beginning with SP here. We've got Spaniards in, Spanish embassy.
What about Spaniards? Maybe it's not going to see the Spaniard, but the place, Spaniard.
Maybe.
Spaniard.
SP10.
Where is it, out of curiosity?
It's 25 southwest. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe Hector del Guerra has nothing to do with it. Maybe it's the Spaniards in. But he's already. I mean, Schulenburg referenced Hector del Guerra as well.
I mean, I think Hector. He is. It does seem he's involved, but it's possible he's involved and they go to the Spaniards. Yeah, it's down here. It's very far to the away from other stuff.
Is there We've got lots of options.
We do have a lot of options.
A lot of options, but as well, can you pass me the allies list? Because if we think it's... See, there's a couple of people we could go to here, I think, as well, on top of everything else. We could go to Mycroft, source of information on everything which concerns the government, and apparently he was selling a weapon to the British government.
Mycroft might also be able to tell us if he knows anything about the Countess and what her actual role is.
There's also Henry Ellis, who's a journalist at the London Times. He's a source of information on current events and especially on foreign affairs.
Could be also very useful. I think...
And hey, we haven't gone to the coroner yet either.
That's
Although
true.
He was just shot. Probably. I mean...
Yeah. It might be worth going to the coroner. Yard. Even so. Just...
I think we should maybe go to Mycroft or Henry Ellis first. I think those are good options. I do think going to see the Spanish attaché is also a good option.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we can... Oh God, is there anything else?
We also need to... What happened to his briefcase? There was
what was on the earring?
R and F, I think. Wait, who's the Hatter? The Hatter's not R and F, is it?
Clark and Sons.
Clark and Sons. That seems probably not relevant. Well, what does it say on it? Victoria. Hat.
One Victoria hat.
Okay.
I'm not convinced it's relevant.
No.
It'll be the entire thing.
The one thing we just...
Hatter hated him. He didn't pay for his hat. This is interesting. So if maybe it's something to do with the Russians, the Spanish, the Germans, etc. There is a thing here which is to do with arms in Russia to a certain degree.
Okay.
Fatal explosion of shell, St. Petersburg, March the 11th. This afternoon, as a wagon load of old artillery material, which a dealer in iron had bought from the government at public auction, was being discharged at the purchaser's place of business, a 9-inch shell, supposed but erroneously to have been duly unloaded, burst in the midst of a number of people. 16 persons, including 4 children, were killed on the spot, and several others were more or less seriously injured. That's after he died.
Yeah.
Well, where we go next is up to you.
Okay, I think we do... I'm happy to go and see either Mycroft or Henry Ellis. Sort of everything which concerns the government. Sort of information on current events, especially foreign affairs.
Let's sum up what we think so far. We think the Countess von Schulenburg is a spy and not the wife of the Count. Are we fairly comfortable with that?
I'm not too certain of that.
Okay.
I think it's possible. I think it's also possible she's just his wife and
But she called him Hair. And it made a big deal out of how different they were, and I don't know.
I mean, it's weird. It's certainly possible.
And his butler knows. He's sent his butler, or someone is bringing the butler along to these meetings. I'm not certain it's an affair. I think that the munitions magnate was doing some kind of deal with the German government.
It's definitely a strong chance there's some kind of backdoors deal between this guy, Courtney Allen, and the Germans somehow. I mean, one thing I think we could also do is go to the US Embassy to see what they would... I mean, they probably wouldn't say, but to see what they were going to meet about, maybe.
Possibly.
Or to find the captain guy.
Captain Egan. Yeah, we haven't done that.
We haven't done that.
And there's the Spanish attaché, and the Russian attaché. Oh, God.
I think... There's a good chance that Captain Egan isn't significant, but I think we should go and find Captain Egan.
Is that what you think we should do?
I think we should do that.
Okay, let's go find Captain Egan. Let's see what that's all about. So, John Egan, 47 northwest.
Okay.
So, way out of the way from everything else by the
Yeah,
look of it.
very, very out of the way.
47 northwest. Okay, this is our fourth visit, yeah?
Yes.
Shortest paragraph so far.
Okay.
We are told by Captain Egan's landlady, whom we suspect was once a boatswain's mate on a man o' war, that he is at the Admiralty.
Okay.
Oh god, that's just ramping up the numbers of visits.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it seems possible that there's just a guy he was going to meet, and that. But it, like,
I think you're on the right. Right. Okay. Here's my utterly speculative theory. Right.
okay.
now,
Okay.
Courtney Allen engaged in secret deals with the Germans, but potentially acting kind of like a double crosser. Okay. And he may be double crossing them with Captain Egan, right, at the Admiralty. So let's go talk to Captain Egan, and if he says, yeah, he's feeding his information about the Germans, maybe your man with the handlebar moustache is the killer. And the Germans caught on, took him out. Maybe?
I think so. I think we've got to establish what this meeting was going to be about.
We've got to go see Egan. Like,
yeah,
I don't care if it takes us 2 visits. We've got to go see Egan. Okay, where's the Admiralty? 10 southwest. 10 southwest. Oh god, it's so big. It's the note. It's the one with the note.
We've got the note.
We've got the note. Okay. So is this our 5th visit?
Yes.
Okay. Captain Egan is a small bulldog of a man. He paces back and forth behind a massive oak desk as if it were a quarter-deck railing. 8 months ago, Alan came to this office with the designs for a new naval gun. Revolutionary in concept. Can't say much about it. Most secret, don't you know. The design was approved and money's advanced for its development. Can you tell us anything about the meeting Mr. Allen was to have had with you on the evening of his murder? The captain barks out a name, unintelligible to us, and an ageing lieutenant, long since beached upon the promotional shores of paperwork, scurries into the room. Bring me the Grant Arms Company file. Allen sent me a wire this morning. Quite vague. Close-mouthed fellow when all is said and done.
This morning?
This morning. He was worried about security for project number 10. I know, but wouldn't say much about it. His responsibility. He'd take care of it. Of course, I put some of my men on it anyway. The lieutenant returns with the file and is dismissed, for the time being, back into oblivion. The captain shows us first the wire. It reads, "Meet tonight, 8:30 your office. Call out the guard. Pounce at 10. C. Allen." I think that's what it says. Pounce at 10?
Looks like it. Okay.
He then shows us a detailed list of the activities of Richard Camp, a development engineer on project number 10. As you can see, he was always bringing boxes and bundles to the French embassy. Emile Zabar, French military attaché, who's the marksman, has his offices at the embassy. So you believe that Mr. Allen's wire implied he had information implicating Camp in a security breach at Project 10. I did, still do. But Lord Ragland, head of the project, so that's his first in command, right?
Yeah.
Assured me that Allen's security fears were unfounded.
Lord Ragland covering.
We met 2 days after Allen's unfortunate death. As a precaution, he told me he would remove Camp from the project. Since the conversation, I've concentrated my efforts on Zobar, von Schulenburg, Del Guerra, and Meshkov. Their governments would all have great interest in our new gun. So far, my men have uncovered nothing. Thank you, Captain.
Okay.
So, oh my word. So project number 10 is his project for the British government. And he reckons, so Courtney Allen thought he caught a leak, essentially.
Camp.
Richard Camp. who apparently was leaking to the French. And the French military attaché is Emile Zobar, who's a marksman. And Lord Ragland, who is the guy who Courtney Allen has passed over for inheritance
Is
of
covering
his business, is covering for Camp.
But has now removed him.
But has also removed Camp from the project. What do you reckon the odds are Camp's dead?
I mean, it seems fairly likely. Should we check in the... Is there an obituaries?
There is an obituaries.
Deaths. Don't think so.
Oh god, there's so many leads. What do we do? I don't know how many we should, decide that we've done enough.
I mean, we certainly don't, we don't know who killed him yet.
No.
I
think the butler's pretty suspicious.
The butler is suspicious.
And Emile Zobar being a marksman and potentially highly involved in this is
I think
suspicious.
Emile Zobar and someone associated with Lord Ragland or Lord Ragland himself seem they're moving up the list of suspects very quickly. I think the fact that
then what's going on with the Germans?
Yeah.
Oh god.
I mean, maybe it's that Grant is trying to sell Courtney Grant?
Courtney Allen.
Courtney Allen and Grant Allen.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Grant Allen is his brother, the one who's still alive, right? I think.
Wait, it's Grant's Arms Company. Is it
Yeah.
Courtney Grant or Courtney Allen? I thought it was Courtney Grant, but it might be Courtney Allen.
I don't know what's happening anymore. It's Courtney Allen.
Okay.
Yeah. But the company's called Grant Arms, right? Yeah.
And then his brother's called... What's his brother called?
Richard Allen.
Richard Allen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's up to you where we go next. I'm quite tempted to try and find Camp. I think he might be dead.
Is he in the thing? Is he in the booklet?
Richard Camp, right?
Yeah. I think it's possible that...
Richard Camp.
Yeah.
I think the people to go see, we've got our two allies that we could go see.
Because Richard Camp might also say stuff to it. He might tell us stuff if he's now been fired.
There's Richard Camp, there's Lord Ragland, there's Emile Zobar.
Maybe.
The Germans, there's Hector Del Guerra.
Yeah.
There's also our two allies. Are there any places? I don't think there's any places, just no places as places.
No, I don't think so. Except the place, his office.
Which we haven't been to.
We haven't been to his office. We should probably do that. We should probably do that thinking about it. Visiting the crime scene. I think we should go to the office.
You should go to the office?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh god. We're going to so many places. Grant Arms Company, 5 East Central. That is literally the first place you'd go if you were actually looking into a murder. Oh my god, it's massive. Okay. Okay, here we go. By pre-arrangement, we meet Constable Beadle behind the Grant Arms Company in the alley parallel to Leonard Street. I noticed a strange lump up the alley, and knew right off that something was amiss. My instinct for the out of place, you might say. Watch your step there. The cobbling hereabouts is in a bad way. Many a jagged edge just made for tripping a man. We have strolled 30 feet or so from the base of a stairway that leads to the offices of Grant Arms to arrive at the juncture of a T formed with another alley that leads to Old Street. It was right here, and sad to say, it was not a lump at all. Now the victim was lying on his back, the force of the bullet having thrown him backwards. The briefcase was lying right beside the body, waist high. The wallet was lying a few feet away. The victim's overcoat was thrown open, and his pocket watch was missing, but part of the chain was still attached to the vest, so that's how they got the key off it. He was quite dead, but there was still some warmth in his bare hands, so I couldn't have missed the blighter by much. Now, I figure the perpetrator must have hid in that shed just up this second alley. When the victim approached, he jumped out and fired point blank. Wow, the cat destroys something. As you can see, it's but 5 feet from the shed to where the body lay. So that's interesting. It needn't have been a marksman then at all.
Yeah.
We thank Constable Beadle for his time and trouble. He goes back on patrol, but we linger a moment longer at the scene. From the shed, Wiggins calls to us. Seems both Scotland Yard and our perpetrator have been quite careless. His open palm reveals the remains of a cigarette. On it are the letters B and H in gold leaf. The tip end is pinched evenly all around. Beaming, Wiggins suggests that we adjourn to the offices of the Grant Arms Company to interview Alan's private secretary. Our unorthodox means of entry via the back stairway startles a young man we meet in the corridor. Fair-haired and pleasant-featured, he turns out to be William Linhart. After introductions are made and we are seated in Linhart's office, Wiggins asks him a question that has been nagging at all of us since the beginning. What was Mr. Allen doing in the alley? Any time he worked after hours, which was often, he would leave by the back way. It was a short walk to Old Street where the traffic was heavier and a cab more likely to be hailed. So anyone who had a passing knowledge of Mr. Allen's habits, company employees, or even business acquaintances would certainly have been aware of that practice. Yes, that's so. That evening, Mr. Allen was scheduled to meet with Captain Egan at 8:30. Can you tell us who Captain Egan is? We should come here first. He's the ordnance officer in charge of purchasing for the Admiralty. Do you know what the meeting was about? He and Mr. Allen met often to discuss the special project undertaken for the Admiralty some months ago, but I was unaware of that particular meeting. Mr. Allen regularly delivers progress reports, but always during the day. And I always made the appointments. I remember that Mr. Allen asked me to put the SP10A folder into his briefcase. SP10.
Special Project 10.
It surprised me because I was not aware of an appointment with Captain Egan. Could you tell us about this special project? It is very secret and cat-like, but I suppose I can say that it involves the development of a new type of naval gun. Were there problems with the project? None that I am aware of. Mr. Allen was very concerned about security, though. While we do sell arms to foreign powers, there are certain weapons that are reserved exclusively for our own government own government. Special Project number 10A was such a one. Was Mr. Allen's concern over security based on a specific incident or centred on a specific person? The existence of the project was common knowledge, so I'm sure he expected a certain amount of, spying. He called in Lord Ragland to discuss the matter after several strange people were seen banging around the Deverell Street plant. Why would the plant be under surveillance? All the technical data, blueprints, formulas, that type of thing are housed there. Our offices here are entirely administrative. Mr. Allen's brother believes that he was having an affair at the time of his death. Realising that this is a delicate matter, would you know who the lady might have been? No, I don't. Over the years, I've always known about Mr. Allen's peccadillos, but only in the most general way. We would be working and something would trigger a cryptic remark that obviously had to do with his personal life. For example, just after the International Arms Fair opened, he received a scented letter on pink stationery. Later that day, he was dictating a memo to Lord Ragland when he stopped and picked it up. He took a full whiff of it and said aloud, "Women often marry for a title, but they won't necessarily fall in love for one."
Okay.
Then he laughed and went on with the memo. And again, cat problems. You're now secretary of the new president, Mr. Marlowe. Yes, he was Mr. Allen's hand-picked successor, which perfectly illustrates the kind of man Mr. Allen was. There was no love lost between them, and yet, recognising Marlowe's outstanding business acumen, he named him as his heir, so to speak. Heir. Thank you, Mr. Linhart. You've been very helpful.
Should have gone there first. Although, I don't think we would have had to do any less visits if we'd have gone there first. We still would have gone to see Egan, I think.
Yeah.
So
what's that, our 6th visit?
Yes. Yep. I mean, the cigarette thing...
Is it conclusive? So, from that, it sounds like she is Schulenberg's actual wife.
Yes.
But she was calling him heir because they're not.
Yeah, they don't care about each other.
They don't care about each other.
But
if they don't care about each other, why is he
Why
would he kill him?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's possible that the suggestion from that is that she doesn't care about him, but he might still be like super jealous over her or what she gets up to. Possibly. I mean,
but there's all this special Project 10 stuff
as
well.
It's one of two things at this point.
Is it a murder of passion or of politics?
It's interesting. I want to know more about the cigarette. How common is a cigarette with B&H on it, basically? If they're like from Germany, then I think we can be pretty certain that the Germans have something to do with the murder. Because the murderer seems to have this type of cigarette. If they're just everywhere, if everyone has cigarettes with B&H, then it means nothing.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Is there anyone on here we could...
The thing is, it has something about H.R. Murray is a criminologist. He analyses all items and substances discovered during the course of investigation. But that won't count things we find, I guess, because it's all written down as like a thing you definitely... I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so we had a brief pause there while the cat did a massive shit just off camera. But we're back with the lovely scent in the air, the scent of murder. And I have found, the only B&H I can find in here is Breitkopf and Hertel.
Oh my god.
So that's probably a German make.
Sounds German to me.
And I don't think there's much point going there.
No, because they'll just be like, we make cigarettes.
Yeah. But I do think that if it is a German brand, that probably does increase, if that is who they are at all, but it's the only B&H I can find just with a scan. This is the thing. Okay, so a crime of passion or a crime of politics. If it's a crime of passion, we have a suspect, a motive. If it's politics, we have lots of different suspects, but no real motive. We suspect Lord Ragland of perhaps being, corrupt.
Yeah.
But we don't have anything on him.
I think we probably have to go see Richard Camp.
I think we probably do.
One way or another.
Just to get the right picture, I think.
Hopefully he's disgruntled enough after being fired to tell us everything he knows.
Or dead with a lot of evidence on his body. That would be good
as
well, yeah. So Richard Camp lives at 23 Northwest.
Okay.
So. Here we go. Okay. We find Richard Camp in the sitting room of his bachelor apartment, nursing a cold and looking thoroughly miserable. As he pours a spoonful of Dr. Sari's magic elixir, he is seized with a fit of sneezing, causing the liquid to spill down his shirt front. Blast, he curses. He flings the spoon across the room and takes a slug straight from the bottle. Ill health puts me in an ill temper, he says by way of apology. We're sorry to inconvenience you, but we would like to ask you a few questions. Would you tell us why you were removed from Project 10? Lord Ragland simply assigned me elsewhere. Since Project 10 was well along, he felt I would be more useful in other areas. He also mentioned that my visits to the French embassy had been misinterpreted in some quarters, and perhaps it would be a politic move. Your visit to this French embassy? I am secretly engaged to the daughter of the vice-consul. Her father is a most difficult man. Her uncle, Emile Zobar, is sympathetic to us. Since I work for an arms company and he is the military attaché, my visits were ostensibly to see him. Both Mr. Allen and Lord Ragland were well aware of the real reasons for my visits. Did you ever discuss Project 10 with Monsieur Zobar? No, I would never. And where were you the evening of the 9th? I met Annette, my fiancée, at Rules. We took several hours to dine, and then I brought her home to the embassy. Just one more question, Mr. Camp. Do you smoke Benson and Hedges Imperials? No, I don't. They are a favourite of Emile Zobar's, though, and I gave him some for his last birthday. Why'd you ask? Just following up our leads. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Camp. Hope you're feeling better soon.
Okay.
So...
Benson and Hedges.
So Emile Zobar and the Count both smoke the brand.
Ugh, of course they
and Emile Zobar is a marksman.
But he also said that
But what would his motive be?
He also said that Mr. Allen knew that he was engaged, did he not?
Yeah.
So why did Alan go to see Egan, saying, "I think this guy might be"?
He's on the wire, didn't he?
Yeah, and Egan seemed to believe that Alan had security concerns about Richard Camp. But if he knew, I mean, it's clearly assuming he knew and assuming that he is actually secretly engaged, that clearly doesn't rule out the possibility that he was also trading secrets.
No.
So, I mean, it's difficult because he has a reason to be going there, but it certainly doesn't mean he's not a suspect. I think. I mean, it's interesting that they both smoke the same cigarette.
It's the same man.
Just one man poses as the French and German ambassador.
And Spanish and Russian. Right. You know what? The Count said that he was meeting the Spanish attaché, right?
Yeah.
Was that our 6th or 7th visit?
That was our 7th, I believe. Yep.
So it's your choice.
Okay.
Maybe if we go see Hector Del Guerra, he can confirm or deny the alibi.
Yeah, because it's where the German Count said he was that night.
Yes.
I mean, is it worth going to see the French ambassador first to see what he says his alibi is?
But we don't really have...
I think he's definitely a suspect at this, like, a strong suspect at this point. He smokes the cigarettes. We know he can shoot, not that he would need to shoot particularly well, but we know that he can shoot. And also perhaps that he owns a gun. Also the German guy owns a gun. And that he has something of a motive. Like,
Okay.
I think go to see the French guy.
Go and see Emile Zobar.
Yep.
Okay. He is 41 West Central. This is our 8th.
This is our 8th.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how long it's going to take. How Sherlock will take to visit. But, okay. We find Emile Zobar at home, ill in bed. So he's also ill.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. His housekeeper, who looks nothing like our image of a French maid, shows us the way. We are sorry to disturb you, but nonsense. It is a slight indisposition, and your company is quite welcome. To be frank with you, I am bored to tears. He snaps shut a copy of Alice in Wonderland and reaches into the drawer of the bedstand. He withdraws a cigarette case, which he opens and offers to us. We decline, but we can't help but notice the gold leaf, B&H. Shut the door if you please. My housekeeper will fuss to no end if she sees me smoking. Would you tell us where you were on the evening of March 9th? Yes, the night of Monsieur Allen's death, I was at Simpson's playing chess all evening. Do you know Richard Camp? But of course, he is employed at the Grant Arms Company and is secretly engaged to my niece, Annette Zobar. Why secretly? Because my brother is a most narrow-minded individual. Odd for a Parisian, admittedly, but... He shrugs. He has a strong dislike for you English. Being a most diplomatic diplomat, he is able to keep it well hidden. Such might not be the case should his only daughter marry an Englishman. I, on the other hand, like and admire the English very much. Richard in particular. And since I am also inordinately fond of my niece, I agreed to involve myself in their conspiracy. Has Mr. Camp ever talked to you about the special project on which he was working? One of the qualities I admire most about the English is their profound sense of loyalty. Richard possesses that quality in the extreme. So no. My association with him is purely social, within the situation I have already explained. We thank Monsieur Zobar for his time and wish him a speedy recovery. At the bottom of the stairs, on our way out, we hear 2 female voices conversing in the kitchen. We catch a glimpse of a well-dressed woman whose name, Lady Hilda, stands out from the jumble of French spoken by the housekeeper. We are uncertain of the last name, but it is 1 syllable and begins with an O, or possibly an H, considering the French difficulty with the letter. Curiously, as she sees us, she quickly darts out of view. I don't think
Leads upon leads.
I don't think it's... their stories match up.
Yeah. They...
But what about that wire. Why would Courtney Allen...
What did the wire say again?
Quite vague. He was worried about security, but wouldn't say much about it. Meet tonight, 8:30 your office. Call out the guard. Pounce at 10.
I think at this point...
But the thing is, Egan thinks that's what it means, but it might not.
It might not. That's true. And he is about to be murdered, so the fact that he's concerned about security is not surprising.
No.
Like, someone is going to... He's correct in that, even if it isn't... Even if it has nothing to do with Richard Camp. I think we've got... It's basically, at this point, our main suspects are the French guy, possibly. He's probably third. Then the German butler and the German count, I would say. It could be either of them.
Yeah.
It did also... What did it say about the gold leaf on the cigarette?
B&H. So, yeah.
In the... Because it mentioned something about that at the crime scene as well, but I can't remember exactly what it said.
I'm just trying to find a Lady Hilda H. No, Lady Hilda O. Lady Hilda Hope. Yeah, so we found the constable thinks the shooter shot from this little shed
thing.
In the shed was someone smoking B&H. Emile Zobar, the French attaché, and Count von Schulenberg, the German attaché, both smoke that.
Yeah.
I think the French attaché's story matches up with Richard Camp's. Neither of them seemed to be aggravated or upset or nervous in any way. Egan had suspicions of them, but I don't think there's any concrete information on that.
Based on information that we know would lead him to be suspicious, but wouldn't actually be a cause for suspicion against them.
On the other hand, it strongly looks like Courtney was having an affair with the Countess, from what he said in private, which was a kind of allusion to something else. She does not have a strong marriage with her husband, and he smokes those cigarettes. But
he has a gun collection.
The butler almost looks like he was in on it.
Yes.
As in he was in with the Countess.
Yes. I mean, I still think it's possible that he was following her for the Count, and that he arrives after her because he's been following her, and then he leaves after her, hidden somewhere in the establishment, and then follows her out.
He sat over on one, so maybe that's it.
But I think it's difficult. I don't know who we really need to speak to next. This woman seems quite likely to be a red herring.
I think so.
But it could be a vital evidence. Lord Ragland seems not a bad person to speak to.
But I'm not certain.
Who do you want?
Every piece we've put together about the German attaché comes together. There's no but what about it. He was having an affair with his wife. He had the butler follow her. He killed him.
But even that, it does... I mean, it puts the actual Count more in suspicion, but it could also be the butler. Oh my god. It can't be the butler.
But the Count smokes
cigarettes.
cigarettes.
The Count smokes the cigarettes, that's true.
If we go see anyone, is it my choice again? I think
it's your choice.
I'm saying, I'm actually tempted to say, if out of anyone, let's go see Hector de Guerra.
That's
because
true. He can confirm,
or deny the alibi.
Alright, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
I'm just going to check that alibi again. So what was it? It was 51 Southwest, was it?
51 Cadogan Street, which is Southwest.
Yeah, which was
Yeah, alibi was the...
Yeah, he just says, I went to the home of Hector Del Guerra.
Yeah. Okay, I think... Is this also the guy that we know left his office at, like, a time...
Yeah, which
is roughly the time frame we would expect?
Yeah.
Although
the constable said he wasn't dead long.
Yeah, but, I mean, he leaves like,
it
5 to 5.
2 hours, and yeah, it's feasible.
He's not...
Yeah.
Also, knowing where the Spanish...
36 West Central.
36 West Central.
Right, well, we're going there.
Yeah.
This is our 9th, we're going there.
I think that's a good
And
idea.
I think, hopefully, this will...
Okay.
Our interview with Hector Del Guerra at his home is suddenly interrupted by the entrance of 3 small children into the parlour. They fairly fly into the room with a swoop upon their father, covering him with hugs and kisses. Close upon their heels, their governess issues a string of Spanish commands, which once again restore order. After formal introductions are made with awkward curtsies by the little ones, the governess hustles them away, and Senor Del Guerra is able to continue. It was a formal dinner party, you see. March 9th is our wedding anniversary. There were 30 or so guests, and they began arriving a little after 7 o'clock. As I recall, Count von Schulenburg and his wife were the last to arrive, at about 8:30.
So...
It's certainly possible.
It's certainly possible. Because they're here, and he died around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. He's definitely he's definitely possibly there.
He's got the means, he's got a weapon.
Yeah.
He's got the motive. He's probably got the motive. There's evidence linking him to the scene, and it is possible within the time frame for him to do it.
Yeah, he's definitely... Do we have enough to say...
He's a drinker.
And he said something about him, he's angry. Like, the only emotion that...
He shows his anger.
Yeah, his anger. I think it's him.
I think it's him.
I
think it's the Count in the alleyway with the gun.
Oh, God.
But is it too obvious? I don't know. But is it only obvious because we've made the connections? Because this all comes from just luckily finding this here. So it's not entirely obvious.
And could we go anywhere to make this more certain? Like, what lead could we follow to, like, fully establish that this happened? I struggle to think of any, like...
Anything
we can follow other leads to discount them.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anywhere to go to further this lead, really.
No. I can think of stuff to do to go along the kind of political Lord Ragland thing line, but it just doesn't seem that there's no evidence coming together for it.
Yeah.
Should we do it? I think we should do it. We've had 9 visits.
We've had 9 visits.
Oh God. But why? But the briefcase has a sharp object used on it.
Yeah.
But it's locked. He kept the key on a chain.
The chain was broken.
But only the watch, not the key.
Wait, where was the key? How did we get into the case? Did we have the key?
Holmes.
Oh yeah.
Jimmy's it open. See that.
Why did he take the watch?
But that might have been the constable.
That's true.
It could have been anyone.
That could have been the constable.
Or he might have taken it to make it look like a robbery.
Yeah.
But this is why it's interesting. The briefcase wasn't taken, and even though the key was there, it wasn't opened at the scene. See, that makes me think it's not political.
Yeah.
There's no information they're going for, you know?
It also hasn't taken the stuff out of it. Like, there were things...
I don't know what the long gouge is.
Yeah.
See, I'll be sick if we go to the coroner now and the coroner's like, this man wasn't shot, he was stabbed, or I don't know.
He was poisoned. By a French poison. Well, I mean, it's basically, do we want to...
It's your call, it's your turn, so do we want to go...
But I'm not going to make the decision that we're, like, done on my own. I think if we go somewhere, I think either the coroner or... No, it's not really worth going to... I was thinking maybe to the guy who analyzes all items, because he would be the guy to analyze the briefcase. But then we'd have to go somewhere else as well to figure out how that fits into the bigger picture, and I don't think it will be worth it. I am happy to go with this information and meet Holmes or arrest this guy or whatever we do. I'm trying to think what else we could do to get more evidence against the German guy.
It just seems too pat. Oh, maybe this isn't it.
Where could
Maybe we're missing something really important.
Where could we go? We haven't gone to the US Embassy yet, but I feel like that is probably not... Since it does seem like it's more to do with the affair than the whole guns dealing thing.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you.
I think... Where could we go? To find out what happened to the briefcase. I just can't think of any... I mean, there are places we could go, but not that I think will be particularly useful.
I don't think there's anywhere else we can go for this lead. I don't think.
Alright, let's just do it.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it. Whatever. We've probably got the right guy, probably, maybe.
Okay, so the first thing we do, we have to answer a number of questions, okay?
Okay.
So, who killed Courtney Allen? Count von Schulenburg.
Yeah.
The Count.
Count.
2, why was he murdered? For the affair.
Yeah.
Oh, why did she call him Hair? Oh, God.
We gotta go with that.
What was the significance of the message found in Courtney Allen's notebook? The message is...
Oh, God, we don't know that.
We don't know that.
We do not know that.
Spaniard tonight, 10 p.m. Presumably from the Russian. Don't know. 4, what was the reason for Richard Camp's visit to the French embassy? To visit his fiancée. Part 2. Why was the tip of the cigarette found at the scene of the crime pinched all around evenly? Don't know. Oh, God. This is going to be so bad, isn't it? 2, who was Courtney Allen's paramour at the time of his death?
Yeah, we know that. Countess.
The Countess. Probably. Oh my God, what if it's Lady Hilda Hope?
It's Countess.
It's so Lady Hilda Hope, isn't it? This is nothing to do
Oh, crap.
3, what was special about the weapon used to kill Courtney Allen?
Literally no idea.
Literally no idea.
It was a gun.
And 4, how could Wiggins easily make £10? I mean, it'll be something that a place we didn't go that had some kind of little joke in it or something, I imagine.
Okay, we don't know that one.
Okay, so...
Do we want to guess any of the ones? Like, do we want to guess the... Okay, the cigarette one I don't think we can guess. We may as well make a guess. There's no point not guessing.
I have no idea, though.
What were the other ones?
No, I think we should go with
Okay.
Yeah.
No guessing.
Okay.
We don't want to embarrass ourselves in front of Holmes.
Okay, here we go. Here's a solution to read out. I've already kind of half looked at the murderer, so okay. We are gathered once again at 221B Baker Street, comparing notes and discussing the case, trying to unravel its many threads when Holmes finally speaks. From the outset, it was obvious that the theft of Mr. Allen's wallet was but a decoy for the perpetrator's real intent.
Indeed.
In the first place, it is unlikely that a common criminal would have overlooked 2 valuable rings, and in the second, simple robbery would not explain the absence of a folder marked SP10A in the briefcase.
Okay. Oh wait, we did know that! We knew what that note meant. We knew what SP10 was. Oh, God.
But the briefcase was found locked, protests Watson. As far as we know, Alan locked it and it remained so until you yourself sprang it open. I might add that I was quite shocked at your adeptness at such larceny. To study the criminal is to acquire knowledge of criminal methods. In any case, the murderer must have opened it as evidenced by the spread-eagle position of the body and the placement of the briefcase with regard to it. As Alan was shot, his arms described an arc out and away from the body. The briefcase then appears to have been flung some distance, as indicated by the gouge in the leather, caused by it scraping along the jagged cobbles. Yet it was found beside the body, and more significantly, waist high, exactly the right position for the murderer to have retrieved it and brought it to the key on Alan's catch fob. Knowing that the contents of the folder were central to the murder, and that the code stood for Special Project Number 10,
We did know that.
a new naval gun for the Admiralty, it was a simple matter to cull 2 suspects from the customer list of Benson and Hedges Imperial brand smokers. The cigarette found at the scene was, of course, a Benson and Hedges cigarette. You must mean Count von Schulenberg and Emile Zabar, the military attaches from Germany and France, mentions Wiggins. No, not at all.
Oh, God.
Remember, all technical data was kept at the Deverell Street plant. Folder SB10A, like the others in Alan's briefcase, contained only administrative data that would be of little to no use to a foreign power. It could, however, contain something that would be damaging to a company employee. Therefore, the 2 significant names on the Benson and Hedges list were those of Lord Ragland and Richard Camp. Captain Egan, quite unintentionally, went a long way towards clearing camp. A visit to the plant completed the job. His visit to the French embassy was certainly suspicious, asserts Watson. The photographs on his desk explain them perfectly. The church in the background, with the unfinished towers, is the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Mr. Camp's lady love is French and lives at the French embassy.
We knew that.
We knew that. Further, I suspect that the lady has some familiar relationship to Emile Zabar. The Benson and Hedges Imperials purchased by Mr. Camp, a cigar smoker, were intended as a gift from Monsieur Zabar. By that process of elimination, then, Lord Ragland is our man. But why? What was the damaging information in the folder? Asks Watson. From the cryptic wire sent to Egan and the note concerning Spaniards intercepted by Allen, which by the way explains why a note signed AM was in Allen's handwriting, it is clear that Ragland was selling Special Project Number 10 to a foreign power. Whatever evidence Allen had was in the folder and about to be taken to Captain Egan. I believe Mr. Allen went to the plant that morning to confront Lord Ragland with the evidence. When he intercepted the note, he saw a chance to catch Ragland and AM, Alexei Meshkov, military attaché at the Russian embassy, red-handed. He set up the meeting with Egan and was ready to pounce. Ragland, for his part, was either told of Allen's surprise visit and the intercepted note, or else he detected something amiss with the note itself. He probably waited during the day for the axe to fall, and when it didn't, he realised that Allen was playing a waiting game. He took up station in the alley, knowing that Allen would come that way, and shot him.
You should have gone in more places.
Holmes has solved this case following 4 leads. 4 leads! He first visited the crime scene in the Grand Society of Armaments. He then investigated the cigarette butt by going straight to its maker, Benson and Hedges. Then he met Captain Egan at the Admiralty, and thanks to the name of the street obtained at the Grand Society of Armaments and the map of London, he finally went to the Deverell Street manufacturing plant. His score is 100 points.
Our score is like -1,000,000. We have no points. Yeah, well, we don't even have no points. We're definitely going to have negative points.
Right, so the leads that we don't need to count because they're considered really valid are Captain Egan's residence, so you can cross that off.
There was one place we went to that I didn't write down, I think, which is not good.
Yeah, so you can cross off
Captain
Egan's. You can cross off the German embassy. You can cross off the Spanish embassy. so we don't need to count them.
Right.
And then to calculate our scores, we calculate the points obtained by answering the questions. And then we have to do the thing with the leads. So, who killed Courtney Allen? Lord Ragland. Why was he murdered? He discovered that Lord Ragland was about to sell Special Project Number 10 to a foreign power. What is the significance of the message found in Courtney Allen's notebook? It's where the sale of the SP-10A to Alexei Meshkov took place. Now, we thought it was Alexei Meshkov, but we couldn't. What was the reason for Richard Camp's visit to the French embassy? He was visiting his fiancée, Annette Bar. 25 points!
25.
Why was the tip of the cigarette found at the scene of the crime pinched around all evenly? Because it was smoked through a cigarette holder, presumably something we would have known if we'd investigated Lord Ragland. Who was Courtney Allen's paramour at the time of his death? Countess von Schulenburg! Yes! 10 points.
Oh,
what was special about the weapon used to kill Courtney Allen? It was a weapon from the Grant Society. How could Wiggins easily make £10? Oh God, we could have got this. By returning the earring to the Countess von Schulenburg. She offered £10 in the newspaper. Oh. So we add those up and count the number of leads we followed. How many is that, discounting the free ones?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So 2 more leads than Holmes. So we subtract 10 points and we get our final score.
So we got 25.
Got 25! We finished in positive. Oh God.
That was terrible though. That was we did really
awfully.
bad. We did really
awfully.
bad. I mean, I feel like we did a good job of piecing together
a crime that didn't happen.
Yeah, the information that we got, we pieced it together well. The problem is we should have gone to we didn't go to places we should have gone to.
Yeah.
And we didn't find things out that we should have found out.
Yeah. Basically, I think we were completely seduced by me feeling I was really clever for the very first thing by finding the arms trade, and we were just so locked into Countess von Schulenburg. She's his mistress. Aha! At the beginning that we,
There's no reason the guy couldn't have killed him. It's just there was more reason for it to happen the other way.
So that's a really good game.
It was really fun.
That was a lot of fun.
I definitely enjoyed it.
Interestingly, the box indicates that it's for up to I think 8 people. Yeah, 1 to 8, because you can play it solo, obviously, as well. And I'll be definitely doing that a little bit, not on camera because that would be insanely boring, and I'd just be talking to myself.
Jinx could help you.
Jinx could help me or hinder me. So yeah, that's a really good fun game. The flavour writing is all really fun.
Yeah.
They do a good job. Like any kind of it's essentially a choose your own adventure game of just building so many different roads for you to go down.
Yeah.
That we found a perfectly valid motive and killer who totally wasn't a guy.
One thing I think is interesting is the scoring system, because it rewards you for not. I mean, I appreciate part of it is that the less leads you have to follow before you get the right one is obviously that. That's good. You're a better detective, but at the same time, I do feel that you're arresting a man here. Like, you should just go to every lead and find everything out you can. It should be like, oh, we don't want to get there. We got to beat Holmes. But
that's the thing.
The aim is to beat Holmes.
Right,
it just feels strange.
Yeah.
It is good though. It's really good.
That's really fun. Fully recommended by ATCB.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
It's a great little game. The only thing to think about, I think it's 30 retails for 30 quid, or whatever the equivalent is in other money. And I guess the fact that there's 10 cases in here means that
you can basically play it 10 times.
Yes, you can play it 10 times, and that's it. Obviously, I think there's expansions coming out, or have come out already, and also, I mean, there's obviously just, pay it forward, give it to someone else as a present once you're done. But there is that this is something you won't be playing more than 10 times unless you like to spoil yourself or something.
Or you're just really forgetful.
Yeah. So there's that. So that's Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective. It's really good.
If you need any crimes solved, you know where to find us.
We will definitely find a nearby German man who you have wronged, and we'll blame him for all the problems. So, yeah. Bye.